All right, let's jump in a time machine and set the dial for 1997. We're going to take a look back at a single, absolutely pivotal year that really laid the groundwork for online education as we know it. And we're going to see it all through the eyes of a true pioneer, a guy named Morten Flate Paulsen.
So, picture it, 1997. The internet is still this new, kind of clunky, but super exciting frontier. You know that dial-up modem sound? Yeah, that was basically the soundtrack to a world that was right on the edge of a massive digital shift. But this year of change wasn't just about tech. It was happening all over the globe. And to really put yourself back in that moment, just think about what was in the headlines. You had a whole new political era kicking off in the UK with Tony Blair, the historic handover of Hong Kong to China, the entire world mourning the loss of Princess Diana, and the first major global steps on climate change with the Kyoto Agreement. It was, no question, a year of massive, historic shifts. So, while all these huge headlines were dominating the news, there was this smaller, much quieter revolution happening in the background. A handful of innovators were asking this really crucial question. So, what does education even look like in this new digital world? Okay, so our story really kicks off at the 18th ICDE World Conference, which was held at Penn State. Now, this wasn't just any conference. This was the gathering for the biggest minds in distance education. And for Morten Paulsen, it was his chance to finally meet one of his heroes. And that hero was none other than Nicholas Negroponte, the founder of the legendary MIT Media Lab, a big-shot columnist for Wired magazine. I mean, can you imagine seeing the person whose ideas are literally shaping your entire field get up to speak? Paulsen put it simply, he was starstruck. So Negroponte's whole talk was about this incredibly powerful idea from his book, Being Digital. It was all about the shift from atoms to bits. The idea is pretty simple, actually. Information that used to be tied to physical things, atoms, could now be turned into digital data, bits, and sent anywhere in the world instantly. For Paulsen, hearing this was like a lightning bolt. It confirmed his entire vision for the future. And this shift, well, it had huge implications for education. I mean, think about it. Printed books, which are made of physical atoms, were becoming CD-ROMs. Slow physical mail was being totally replaced by instant email. And maybe the biggest deal of all, classes that had to happen on a physical campus could now be hosted on the World Wide Web. The entire model was being turned on its head.
And this wasn't just some abstract theory. No, the future was literally handed to them on a small plastic disc. For the very first time at this conference, all the academic papers weren't printed out in these huge, heavy stacks. Nope, they were all on a single CD-ROM. That's the shift from atoms to DITs, right there in the palm of their hands.
So our next stop in 1997 takes us all the way from a conference in Pennsylvania to a project meeting in Rome. And this is where the work of building this digital future was about to get, well, a very literal shakeup.
Paulsen was in Rome for his very first EU-funded project. The whole team was gathered together on the third floor of this old university building, and they were working on a system with the memorable name of MMWWK. But what they were really building was a foundational step towards what we all now call learning management systems, or an LMS.
So one of the team members stands up to start presenting, and suddenly they hear this sound like a massive thunderbolt. And then the entire room starts to shake violently. Paulsen said his immediate reaction was just to run for it. Turns out they were in the middle of an earthquake, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake that was just rocking central Italy. I mean, can you imagine? You're sitting there trying to build the future of education, and the literal ground starts shaking right underneath you. And honestly, it's just a perfect metaphor, isn't it? The earthquake was a perfect symbol for the work they were doing. Creating the first web-based learning systems was every bit as disruptive, just as foundational, and just as earth-shattering for the world of education. Okay, for our third story, we're going to head to Norway, to an institution called NKI. Now, what's so interesting is that, unlike a lot of others who were just starting out, by 1997, NKI already had a full decade of experience with online learning, and they had the data to prove what was working and what wasn't. But as you can see, even after 10 years of work, online students were still a pretty small minority, just 15%. Most students were still learning the old-fashioned way, through the mail or on campus. And this really highlights a crucial point. Offering only online courses just wasn't going to work yet, simply because not enough people even had a PC and a modem at home. But here's the most incredible finding. This is the piece of hard data that changed everything. When they compared the exam results for the exact same program, the online students consistently got the best scores. Better than on campus, better than correspondence. You have to wonder why, right? Maybe the type of person who chose online learning was just more self-disciplined. Or maybe this new digital format just clicked with how some people learn. Whatever the reason, this was proof that the model actually worked. But of course, progress is never that simple. That same year, Paulsen was part of a group that was evaluating another big online learning project called NITOL, and it led to a pretty major disagreement. The NITOL team thought the evaluation was way too negative, but it brought up this tension that honestly still exists today. Are these innovations being driven by the technology first, or by the educational theory behind it, the pedagogy? For our final little anecdote from 1997, we're going to move away from all the data and debate and into a dream. A kind of quirky, really idealistic, and surprisingly forward-thinking idea that Paulsen literally dreamed up one night. He called it Tellurman. The name is pretty clever. It comes from tellurium, the chemical element with the atomic number 52. And why 52? Well, one for each week of the year. The idea was for a web service where anyone could track their personal best in 52 different sports over a single year.
The challenge itself sounds pretty simple, if maybe a little ambitious. You'd pick any Olympic sport you want, you'd record your results, get a friend to confirm it, to keep you honest, and then you'd register it. Anyone who managed to log 52 different events in 1 year would earn the title of Tellurman.
The goal was just purely idealistic, to get more people active and to get them trying new things. But the technology just wasn't there yet. This was before Web 2.0, before social media, and long before fitness apps like Strava made this kind of social tracking and competition a totally normal part of our lives. It was really a dream of the future. So when you look back at 1997, from those starstruck moments at conferences, to earthquakes in Rome, to that groundbreaking data and these amazing dreams of the future, it was really the year where the blueprint for our digital world was being drawn, which it leaves us with a final thought, right? In our modern world, which is so completely filled with digital bits, what are the foundational atoms, the human connections, the good teaching, the core motivations from that early era that are still absolutely essential for how we learn today?